Hey Joe, it's Snap Fab here. I got my new Lincoln welder, my 200 TIG. Super excited about this. I'm fortunate that when I went out on my own, started my own shop, I could afford to buy a TIG welder. I bought an entry-level, no-name brand. The brand doesn't matter. TIG welder off Craigslist, and I was able to make it work. I've been able to weld steel and aluminum with it, but it's a bit of an inferior machine, and really excited that I have the resources and relationships that I do that has allowed me to get a new machine. I'm very thankful for that. The reason I felt I needed to upgrade my machine is really not because the other machine didn't work. It's just the machine was not. It has a lot of the machine I had has a lot of functions, but those functions didn't do anything. For example, the old TIG that I have has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 adjustable knobs and 4 switches to make adjustments to the machine, whether it be amperage, post and pre-flow, your signal, AC, DC adjustments, which is all well and good if those knobs actually did anything. It's got all sorts of features to adjust, but really I never noticed them making any adjustments. Other than the pre and post flow, I could adjust that and actually recognize that the time would change. But the machine, I could not make adjustments to the machine for the work that I was trying to do. I would have to adjust the way I was working to the machine depending on the material that I was using. I didn't have control really on the torch of working steel versus working aluminum. It has a foot feed, but the foot feed was either on or off. There was no adjusting the pedal to get different amperage to the torch. I just got used to welding to accommodate the machine, and the machine not accommodating me, which I felt it should. With that many damn knobs and switches, you should have some adjustment, but it doesn't. Which brings me to the new Lincoln. I've had an opportunity to use this TIG welder before. Recently, in my friend's shop at Clever Crow Fab, I used his and was like, damn it. I need to be done using this machine and have a good machine so that I'm not always working to fit the machine in the way it wants to work versus the way it should be, where the machine, I should be able to adjust it to accommodate me in whatever it is I'm welding. So, here it is, the new Lincoln. What we're going to do is, I myself have never had a brand new welder out of the box. So it's kind of like Christmas. I really don't know what's in there. So that's what we're doing. We're unboxing this thing. It really doesn't do anything for me to share this with you, other than if you're on the fence about getting a new machine or curious, if you've seen these things online, what's all included with this TIG 200. All right at the top of the box. Oh, yes. 2 different power cords. That's another thing that I was really excited about with this machine, the versatility. That's for 110, and that's for 220. What does that mean? That means this machine will work with either a 110 or 220 input. So if you're working in your garage and you don't have any 220 outlets, you can use this machine in 110 mode. If you needed the full capability of the machine, let's see, what does it say? Yeah, plugged into 110, this machine is good for 10 to 125 amps. You need to be plugged into 220 to get the full 200 amps. So if you're working up to 125 amps, you only need to be plugged into 110. All depends on what you're using the machine for. If you're using sheet metal, you're probably going to get away just plugged into the 110. If you're welding 1/4-inch plate, you're probably going to need the 220. But you have the ability to use both. It's a wonderful thing. Your argon line. Here we go. Brand new regulator and gauges for that argon. Pretty standard. Here we go. Torch lead. Right away, you can see that the torch has a nice zip up sleeve on it. Most good torches will have a removable sleeve that can be repaired or replaced so that you're not damaging the line of the torch lead itself. Heavy brass 1/4 turn lug for hooking up your torch to the machine. The little package here has some torch accessories on it. It's like we've got a standard length torch handle. And it comes with a number 7 cup. We've got both a 1/16 and 3/32 tungsten and hardware to fit the torch. So, you buy this machine, you have tungsten to do any welding you might need right away. So that's a good deal. And a tiny little cup. One feature with the torch that comes with it, this is not a liquid cooled machine. It's just a standard torch, but it is a flexible head, so you can adjust the head, to whatever welding you're doing. Granted, it's adjustable, but not infinitely adjustable. You can break these things, but you can buy just the parts. You don't have to replace the whole torch. But anyway, standard torch, what you'd expect. It should be able to, I can pop that off. I've got some larger cups. Should be able to pop that on. So I've got the ability to change it out, run some larger cups, pretty standard stuff. It may sound weird, but this is one thing I'm really looking forward to, and that's a new foot feed. In a past life, the welders we had in the shop were Lincoln, and that was what I was used to using, was Lincoln welders and the Lincoln foot feed. The machine I have now has a terrible foot feed. What's this? Oh, that's got to be a heel extension for the pedal. I think that probably snaps on there. Yep, that's what it is. Optional heel rest. like I said, this is the first time I've gotten a new one, so that probably is something that comes with all brand new Lincoln welders. I'm assuming. I wouldn't know because this is the first time I've opened one. I don't foresee myself using that. If you're using this in a production setting, I suppose if you're sitting at a workstation every day, I could see how that would, be good to have a little extra purchase for your boot and have a little something for your heel. But I'm used to just having this foot pedal that you can just toss around and slide around the shop floor wherever you might be working. Everything on the top couple more boxes here. Work clamp. That's probably the ground lead electrode holder. This TIG welder can also be used as a stick welder. I have an old Lincoln Tombstone style stick welder, so I got that covered, but there it is. This machine, it'll do the job. It's kind of light duty in comparison to a dedicated TIG machine or a stick machine, but really this machine I don't think is intended to be a stick welder. I mean, you don't buy a TIG welder intending to use it as a stick welder, but there it is. It's available should I need it. And this, like I said, should be the ground lead. Which it is. Heavy ground cable, heavy quarter turn lug. Good basic ground lead. Good. That's all the accessories that come with this. Get the welder out of the box here. It's got some good weight to it. It's not extremely heavy though, so it's something that's definitely portable around the shop. And having the ability to be used in 110, it needs to be, or it should be something fairly portable and lightweight that you can carry around or take to a job site, maybe that requires some TIG welding versus having a heavy setup in your shop that requires 220. But I'm sure I'll make a cart for it. First brand new welder I've had, I want to take care of it, so I think I'll probably design and make a cart for it. What did I tell you here? Like I said, I have used this machine before. In contrast to my other machine with all the knobs and switches that do nothing, this machine actually has one on-off switch. It has two surface buttons there for doing adjustments, and then one big knob for tailoring those adjustments. So it's really pretty easy to navigate. You don't have to wonder what's this knob do because there's only one. The connection points for your positive, negative, and your foot feed. If you have a torch with a thumb adjuster, that will plug here the same way the foot feed does. On the back side, we've got our inlet for our argon. It's like we got a breaker switch there, and the port for our quarter turn. These are kind of like RV plugs. And they go on and have a little bit of a turn to lock them on. It's not quite a quarter turn. It's really just a real quick turn, but nonetheless, it is got a lock to it. We got instructions, owner's manual, so also in the box you have your operator's manual and a sticker. Kind of what you'd expect, some safety stuff, settings, specs, operation of the welder, a quick reference guide in multiple languages that we've got. In the quick reference guide gives you, digital display menu, how to adjust the amps, the pulse, AC balance, AC frequency, TIG setup, AC-DC, TIG versus DC stick. The back, amperage values for material thickness, tungsten size, filler rod, all based on the thickness of the material you're welding. Speaking of adjusting your welder to the material that you're welding, my rule of thumb, which gives you a good baseline if you're stepping up to a machine that's either brand new to you, or you're in a new work environment using a machine that you've never used before, and in making an adjustment, the more you weld, you always have a good idea of where to set a machine. No matter what the manufacturer is. But if you're new to welding, the rule of thumb that I was told once and I've always used is when you're welding any material, steel or aluminum, for every 1,000th of an inch of material, you need 1 amp. Let's see if it says here. Yeah, okay, like a 16 gauge steel, 60 thousandths of an inch. So good baseline, step into a machine, you're welding 16 gauge, 60 amps. Depending on you as the welder, the machine as the welder, the quality of the material you're welding, you may need to adjust that up or down. They say for 16 gauge, 60 thousandths of an inch, they recommend 70 to 85 amps. Fair enough. If we set the machine to 60 and we go to strike an arc and we weld and it's not penetrating, obviously we'd want to turn it up. But that rule of thumb gets you in the ballpark. 10 gauge, 135 thousandths of an inch. They recommend 90 to 120 amps. So if we set the machine to 135, we might be a little hot. We could turn it down or use the foot feed, but again, that rule of thumb, I think that's fair that applies, even in comparison to their numbers here. Material thickness in regards to tungsten diameter and filler rod diameter. We'll look at 16 gauge again, 60 thousandths of an inch or 1/16th of an inch. They recommend a 3/32 tungsten, 1/16th in diameter welding rod. We go up to 10 gauge, 135 thousandths or 1/8 of an inch. They recommend 3/32 tungsten, 3/32 filler rod. The filler rod, that stands to reason. Your filler rod technically, or not technically, but typically when regards to sheet metal, your filler rod's about the same thickness as the material you're welding. So if you're talking 1/16th inch material, you'd use a 1/16th inch filler rod. If you're talking this 10 gauge or an 1/8 inch thick plate, an 1/8 inch or 3/32 filler rod would be appropriate. They go down to 24 gauge, which is extremely thin as far as working sheet metal. If you're working in the motorcycle or car world, that would be really thin. I think you'd probably be talking more sculpture if you're metal shaping and using 24 gauge. There they recommend 16th inch or 16th diameter tungsten and 16th diameter filler rod. So most of the time, a 3/32 tungsten is what you're going to be using, every day. But again, what is it? What is the material you're working on? What is the project you're working on? Will dictate what diameter rod and what diameter tungsten you'll be using. But you've got both. Comes with both. So, tungsten types. The tungsten types. You can experiment with different types of tungsten to see what you like working with best. There are types of tungsten that are for both alloys and steel. Tungsten that's specifically for steel and tungsten that's specific for aluminum. They give you basics for gold, blue, gray, chartreuse or purple, and white, which typically on the end of the tungsten there's a color painted on the end to tell you which type of tungsten you've got. Quick reference, the gold is DC polarity, so we're talking metals other than aluminum alloys. Titanium, nickel, copper, mild steel, stainless steel. Opposite, the white tungsten is AC polarity, so we're talking alloys. So yeah, very good choice for aluminum or magnesium alloys. So you wouldn't want to use that for steel. But the blue, gray, and chartreuse or purple are for AC, DC polarity. Good all-around choice for both AC and DC in welding low alloyed and non-corroding steels, aluminum, magnesium, titanium, nickel, or copper, which is what probably most shops are going to have. I have a few different types of tungsten as far as the color code goes. Some 16th and some 3/32. So again, that's one thing that, if you're new to welding, you're going to experiment with those different types of tungsten. The same way that you'll experiment with the settings on your machine, making adjustments to your pre and post flow, to your settings when you're working with AC versus DC, and yeah. But for the most part, that's a good overview of this kit and everything that comes with the Lincoln TIG 200. It's hard to say. I hope you enjoyed the video because it wasn't anything exciting. It was just an overview, an unboxing of the new welder. I hope I shared some knowledge. My enthusiasm for this machine and to be able to have it in my shop to hopefully improve my product and continue to be better as a welder. Quality tools go a long way to helping have a quality product. So if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks.